Economics tutorial section. So I'm still continuing with the tutorial questions that I was given to the weekend and the evening students. So without much ado, I'll continue with the question 12. So with today, I'll be solving the question 12 of the evening and the weekend tutorial question. So with the question 12, it was under the demand and supply. Now, so there's the question at the right hand side. The demand and supply curves of a firm's product are given by Q is equal to 20 minus 3P and Q is equal to minus 15 plus 2P respectively. A. Calculate the equilibrium price and quantity for this product. B. Calculate the consumer and producer surplus at equilibrium price and quantity. C. Suppose that the government imposes a price ceiling of 2 cedis on a product. Calculate the black market price of the product. D. Suppose that the government imposes a tax of 2 cedis per unit on the product. Calculate I, the proportion of the tax borne by the consumer. II, the proportion of tax borne by the supplier. III, the tax revenue generated. Then the fourth one, the deadweight loss. So one would ask, how do you determine that how do you identify that this is the demand and this is the supply curve? They stated it here, demand and supply curves. So the first picks demand, that's why I brought it to the side. The second picks supply, that's why I brought it to the side. So the A is equilibrium price and quantity. So A. So equilibrium price and quantity. So we know Q, quantity demanded, must be equal to quantity supplied. So this is the condition. Our QD must be equal to QS. So they gave us demand to be Q is equal to 20 minus 3P is equal to QS is minus 5 plus 2P. So we group like terms. So I have 20 here. This is minus 5, it comes here. This is plus 5. This is 2P. You move this to the right hand side. Plus 3P. This gives you 5P. Is equal to. This will give us 25. So since we are finding for P, we divide both sides by the coefficient of P, which is 5. This is 5. So price is equal to 5 cedis. So this is the equilibrium price. Now in finding equilibrium quantity, you would put the price in any of the functions, whether the demand function, the supply function, to get equilibrium quantity. But most especially we use the supply function. You can actually use any of them, but mostly or sometimes we use the supply function. So QS or the supply function was given as minus 5 plus 2P, where P is equal to 5 cedis. So I have QS is equal to minus 5 plus 2 times 5. Because price in the question was given as 5. So QS is equal to minus 5 plus 5 to give us 10. So quantity is also equal to 5. You can decide to bring the unit, or you can decide just write only 5. So this is the A part of the question. So I'm moving to the B part of the question. Calculate the consumer and producer surplus. B is consumer and producer surplus. So consumer and producer surplus. With consumer surplus, we use the demand function. With producer surplus, we use the supply function. Now, so consumer deals with demand, producer deals with supply. Now, when I when we combine producer surplus and that of consumer surplus, that is what we call the welfare total welfare of society. Total welfare of society. Combination of this, that means R. We are adding it. Now, consumer surplus, we know it deals with the demand function. Producer surplus, supply. So let me use a diagram to briefly explain it and make it simpler. So I have this. This is quantity. This is price. This is demand. This is supply. So supply. This is demand. Where they are meeting is the equilibrium point. So E naught. So equilibrium price in the question, you had 5. Equilibrium quantity in the question. Equilibrium quantity in the question, so we had 5. So 5. So equilibrium quantity 5. Equilibrium price 5. Now the side above the equilibrium price, which is from this side upwards, is what we call the consumer surplus. The side below the 5 side, that is from this side downwards, is what we call the producer surplus. So now you have to start with the consumer surplus. I'm finding the consumer surplus first. Remember that I stated earlier on that with the consumer surplus, I'm going to use the demand function to solve it. So let's check for me. The demand function was given as Q is equal to 20 minus 3p. So the concept is if I want price, I'll make Q 0. If I want quantity, I'll make P 0. So let's start. So when P is equal to 0, so Q is equal to 20 minus 3 times 0, where Q is equal to 3 times 0 is 0, 0 minus 20 will give us what? Q to what? 20. So we have Q to be 20 here. So we continue. The first I made when P is equal to 0. So now when Q is also equal to 0, so Q is 0. This is 20 minus 3p. We move 3 to the left hand side, becoming positive 3p is equal to, this is 20. Since we are finding p, we divide both sides by the coefficient of p, which is 20. So I have p to be 20 divided by 3. When you punch on a calculator, you get 6.67. 6.67. So this is it. When you punch it on the calculator, this is what you are going to get. So now, let's fix it here. Remember that I said consumer, we use demand. So consumer, we are using what? This demand. We are using this demand curve. So you know this is quantity side. This is what? Price side. So the quantity side for consumer, we had 20. So it means this side, I'll fix 20. The price, we had 6.67. So it means this column, I had 6.67. 6.67. So in finding consumer surplus, is this number, equilibrium price minus this. That would give us the height in the middle. Once I get this height here, this one. Once I get this height, I'll just multiply it by half times 5. Then I'll get my consumer surplus. So consumer surplus. So consumer surplus. That gives us Half times base times height. What is half? Base is always the equilibrium quantity. This one, which is 5. So that's 5. Times height. So the height, remember that we want to find the middle. So we subtract 5 from 6.67. So 6.67 minus 5 would give us, so the consumer supply is equal to half times 6.67 minus 5 times 5 would give us 4.175, which is approximately 4.18. So that's our consumer surplus. So now we move to producer surplus. I told you with the producer surplus, I'll use the supply curve or the supply what function. So producer surplus. That's our supply curve. That's it. Q is equal to minus 5 plus 2p. So the same approach when p is equal to 0. So I have q is equal to minus 5 plus 2 times 0, because we said p is equal to 0. So q is equal to 2 times 0 is 0. So 0 plus 5, that would give q to be minus 5. So output minus 5. Now the same approach, when q, first we made when p is 0, now when q is 0, so this is 0, this is minus 5 plus what, 2p. You move this here, I have 5. This is what, 2p. Since you are finding p, we will divide both sides by the coefficient of p, which is 5. So this cancels this. So p is equal to hello. Yeah. Please call me back. I'm doing something. Yes, I'm planning on that. So sorry. I had a call. I think it was distracting me. Let me correct it. It's divided by 2, not divided by 5. Sorry. So this is over 2. This is over 2. Because we are dividing both sides by the coefficient of p. So 5 divided by 2 would give us p is equal to 2. When you punch it on the calculator, you get p is equal to 2.50. So now we can find for that. So once I come to the side, let's plug. P is 2.50 and Q is minus 5. So you notice that this is the negative side of the quantity. So we just supply. Remember, there's supply curve. So we go what? Minus 5 and 2.25. So this is the price side. This side. So this is 2.25. Is it 2.25? Sorry, 2.50. Not 2.25, 2.50. Two point 50. So producer surplus will be this number here minus 5. Then we'll get the height also in the middle times the 5. So so we are going to have producer surplus. That's half times base times height. So we have producer surplus is equal to, this is a half. The base is 5. So now the height becomes 5 minus 2.50. So producer surplus is equal to, when you use a calculator, half times 5 minus 2.50 will give you 6.25. 6.25. So this is our producer surplus. So I'm done with the B part of the question. I'm now moving to the C part of the question. So the C part of the question, it states that suppose that government imposes a price ceiling of 2 cedis on a product. Calculate the black market price of the product. So there is a price ceiling. We have price ceiling, and we also have, I'm using it to explain this topic. We have price ceiling and we have price what? Floor. These two things falls under pricing policy. Yes. So the pricing policy, you have price ceiling and what? Price floor. Now, I'm just giving an overview of all this. Price ceiling is the same as maximum price control. So in a question where they are not using price ceiling but they are using maximum price control, it's the same thing. Now, price floor is the same as minimum price control. Now, the effects, we have effect. We have effect of price floor and effect of price ceiling. Now, the effect of price ceiling is what we call the shortage, or we call the black market, or we call the deadweight loss. Then the effect of this is what we call the surplus. But so this is just an overview of it. But the question is saying price ceiling. So we are going to focus on this one. So there's always a price ceiling when you sell above the equilibrium price, which results in a shortage. There's a price floor when you sell above your initial price, which results in price, which so that's the price floor. Once you sell above the equilibrium price, it results in a surplus. Please come in. Okay. So with the price floor, when you sell above the initial equilibrium price, it results in price floor. But with the when you sell above the initial equilibrium price, that is the price floor. So the effect of the price floor is the surplus. When you sell below, that's the price ceiling, and the effect of it is what? Shortage. So with the question, we were given price ceiling. So our focus is price ceiling, not what? Price floor. So let me just illustrate it, how we are going to go about it. So this is quantity, this is price, this is demand, this is supply. Where they are meeting is the equilibrium quantity. Where they are meeting is the equilibrium point. This is the equilibrium price. So the equilibrium price in the question was 5 cedis. Our quantity too was 5. We've been given a price control of 2 cedis. So the 2 cedis, will it fall above 5 cedis or below? It will fall below the what? 5 cedis. So you move it like this. So now, you know this is our supply function. This is our demand function. You notice that this price ceiling is touching a particular point here. So this is what our supply function. It means we need a quantity for what? Supply. It's touching our demand function. So we also need the quantity for what? Demand. So we want to know if price ceiling is given as 2 cedi, how is it going to affect supply here? And if a price ceiling is given as 2 cedi, how is it going to also what? Affects demand. Now, once we are selling below, which is price ceiling, the effect is what? Shortage. I gave it in the note. This is it. So this is our shortage. So how then do we determine the amount of shortage or surplus? What we do is, remember, this curve is a supply curve. So the price ceiling is touching the supply curve. So what I'll do is, I would have to pick my supply curve. So the supply curve, it was giving us this it. So Q is equal to minus 5 plus 2p. And we're given price, the ceiling price to be 2. So Q is equal to, this is minus 5 plus 2 times 2. So Q is equal, this is minus 5. 2 is for minus 5 plus 4. We give us minus 1. So with supply, the quantity is minus 1. Now, we also try for demand too. So the demand curve too, we had Q is equal to 20, this is it. 20 minus 3p, where p was given as 2. So Q is equal to 20 minus 3 times 2, where Q is equal to, this is 20. 3 to 6. 6 minus 20 would give us 14. So we have demand to be what? Quantity to be 14. We have quantity here to be what? Minus 1. So that one was what? Supply. And notice what our supply what? Curve. So we had minus 1. And the demand, we had 14. This is our demand curve. So demand is 14. Now the question states that, suppose the government imposes a price ceiling of 2 cedis on the product. Calculate the black market price of what? The product. Now, per what we are, if demand exceeds supply, or if demand outweighs supply, there's a shortage. But if supply exceeds demand, there's what? A surplus. So you could see that demand is greater than what? Supply. So now, let me just give a small note here. So demand outweighs supply, which results in a shortage amount of so you are saying demand outweighs supply, but you could see demand is greater than supply. So demand outweighs supply, which results in a shortage amount of 14 units. So we are saying that, suppose that the government puts a price ceiling of 2 cedis on a product. Calculate the black market price of the product. So now, since we've identified that it's going to result in a shortage, it means demand exceeds what? Supply. It's going to result in a shortage. What we would have to do is we would have to maintain our price ceiling. Are you okay? So if I maintain the price ceiling, means I'm going to maintain the initial equilibrium what price. Since I'm maintaining it, it means my price ceiling would also be the same as my what? Black market price. So what I'm going to say is, I would give a note here. So black market price remains the same as the equilibrium remains the same as the equilibrium price since the price ceiling is resulting. I'm trying to explain it. Since the price ceiling is resulting uh, in a shortage. So we have black market price. So that's all for the C part of the question. So with the D part of the question, this is it. Suppose that the government imposes a tax of 2 cedis per unit on the product. Calculate I, the proportion of tax borne by the consumer, the proportion of tax borne by the supplier, the tax revenue generated, the deadweight loss. So D, the proportion of tax borne by the consumer, the proportion of tax borne by the supplier. And they are saying, suppose that the government imposes a tax of 2 cedis. So before I even start with the proportion of tax borne by the consumer, I first have to solve for new equilibrium price and quantity since tax has been given. So new equilibrium price and quantity. So I need to find my new supply function first. Otherwise, I won't be able to find the new equilibrium price and quantity. So with the new supply function, I'll pick the old supply function, which is that Q is equal to minus 5 plus 2p. Now, we've been given a tax. So tax is represented by a T. Tax is 2 cedis. So what we have to do is always tax we subtract, subsidy we add. Another name for tax is VAT, value added tax. Subsidy we add. Subsidy is the same as tax holiday. It's also the same as tax cut. It's also the same as tax relief. What we mean by tax relief, tax cut, and subsidies, you are given exemptions as to the tax you are supposed to pay for a particular product. Whereas with the tax, it's imposed by the government in order to gain a revenue from the producer. Get the difference? So tax is imposed and subsidy is granted. We grant subsidy and impose tax. So both the subsidy and that of the tax affects the supply function. But the way they affect the supply function is what differs. Because with tax, we subtract, but with subsidy, we add. I'm coming. My laptop is going low. Let me charge it. Okay. So tax we subtract, subsidy we add. So I have minus 5 plus this is 2. You open bracket, maintain the price. Tax, I told you we subtract. Subsidy we add. So now we know T is equal to 2. So I have Q is equal to, this is minus 5 plus 2. This is P minus T was given us 2. So we expand it. So Q is equal to, this is minus 5 plus 2 times P as 2P minus 2 times 2 as minus 4. So I have Q. So Q is equal to 2P minus 4 minus 5 gives us minus 9. So this becomes our new supply function as a result of tax. Okay. So we can now find our new equilibrium price and quantity. So new equilibrium price and quantity. So the new equilibrium price and quantity. So with this, let me just add an n to differentiate it as compared to the previous supply. Because so now let's do the old one is Q is equal to minus 5 plus 2P. But the new supply after the tax, or the new supply function as a result of tax, is 2P minus 9. So our new Q is equal to our old demand. So the new supply we had 2P minus 9. The old demand in the question was 20 minus 3P. So let's group like terms. So this is 2P. This is minus 3P. You move it here. Plus 3P. This is 20. You move this. Gives you plus 9. So this gives us 5P. So 20 plus the 9 would give us 29. So in finding P, so this is 5 over 5. This is over 5. So let me do it NP, which makes it a new price. So the new price is 29 divided by 5. With a calculator, we are going to get 5.8. 5.80. So there is our new equilibrium price as a result of tax. So we can now find for our new equilibrium quantity. You have to do this, otherwise you won't be able to solve the D, I, and the IV. New equilibrium quantity. So the new equilibrium quantity, either you use the new demand, you use the new supply function, or the old demand, you still get the same answer. So this is 2P minus 9, where the new price you solved was 5.80. So NQ is equal to, this is 2 times 5.80 minus 9, where NQ is equal to, so 2.2 times 5.80 plus, so 2 times 5.80 minus 9 would give you 2.6 units. So this is 2.6. You can add a unit or you can decide to leave it. It's still correct. So this is the new equilibrium price and the new equilibrium quantity. So now we can start with our I part of the question. So proportion of tax borne by a consumer. Proportion of tax borne by a consumer. Okay, so the formula is our new equilibrium price minus old equilibrium price. So the new equilibrium price is the one we had as a result of tax. It was, let me check. So this is it. 5.80 plus 5.80 minus the old equilibrium price. The first one. The old equilibrium prices. So the old equilibrium price was 2.50. 2.50. 2.50. So the difference is 5.80 minus 2.50. Was that the initial price? Let's check it. Let's check it well. The new equilibrium price is the one here. The one I had from the tag. There's this 5.80. So let's check for the equilibrium price. Sorry, there's it. This one. This is the equilibrium price. It's 5. It's 5 instead. Sorry about that. It's not easy. So the old equilibrium price is 5 cedis. 5.00. So when we subtract, we are going to get 0.8. So 0.80. So this is the proportion of tax for the what? Consumer. So now the II is proportion of tax borne by the supplier. Proportion of tax borne by the supplier. Is the tax that was given in the question minus consumer's share of tax. So the tax in the question was given as 2 cedis minus consumer share of tax. That was 0.80. So you are going to get 2 cedis minus 0.80 will give us 1.2. 1.20. So the proportion of tax borne by the supplier is 1.20. So I'm moving on to the III. The tax revenue generated. So the tax revenue generated is tax times your new equilibrium quantity. So the tax in the question was given as 2 cedis times your new equilibrium quantity. Your new equilibrium quantity is the quantity you had as a result of tax. This is 2.6. So 2 times 2.6. That would give us 2 times 2.6 will give us 5.2. 5.20. So this is our tax revenue. Then the last part of the question is debt with loss. That's the IV. So with the debt with loss, I have this. This is quantity. This is price. This is demand. This one is supply. Where they are meeting is my equilibrium point. This is my equilibrium quantity. That was the initial quantity. So in the question, quantity was 5 and price too was 5. You can cross check it. So quantity was 5, price was also 5. Now after tax, let's check the after tax price. After tax, after there was tax imposed, we had a new price to be 5.80 and quantity was 2.6. So new price. So new price was 5.80. Is it 5.80? Let's cross check it. Yes, so this is the new price. This one. The new price was 5.80 and the new quantity was 2.6. So 5.80 and 2.6. So they are meeting here. So 5.80 and 2. So this is 2.6. So where they are meeting, this side, we are supposed to have another curve there. This is it. So remember, this was our supply function. Now, how did we get this curve? It was as a result of tax. That was S1. So the deadweight loss we are talking about is this side. When we say deadweight loss, it's this particular side where I'm shading, this side and this side. The triangle formed here is what we call the deadweight loss. This thing here, what I'm shading. This is the deadweight loss. Deadweight loss. So the deadweight loss, there is a simple formula we mostly use, which is half times tax times old equilibrium quantity minus new equilibrium quantity. So deadweight loss is half times tax in the question was given as 2 cedis times old equilibrium quantity was 5 units. New equilibrium quantity was 2.6. So half times 2 times 5 minus 2.6. So deadweight loss would be equal to, we are going to get 2.4 on the calculator. So deadweight loss as 2.4. So that's all for the question 12 of the weekend and the evening tutorial question. That's all. So I've solved it. So I think I'm left with, I guess, 3 more questions to finish the weekend and evening tutorial. But please do your best to watch them. It's very critical when it comes to this type of question. So try and practice them more. Once you get access to them, please try your best. Also share with your friends for them to benefit. If you want to go far, you move with people. But if you want to go early, you go alone. There's a difference. So try and always engage your friends to also watch. But also don't forget subscribe. We need more subscribers as well, so that we can do more videos for you guys. So I would say we would end here with the question 12.